The latest Russian attack happened as Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelenskyy finished a tour of Western Europe to advocate for more advanced air defense and fighter jets for Ukraine. Russia's furious response came at 2:30 a.m. May the 16th local time. Emergency sirens woke residents. Soon afterwards, there were loud bombs as Ukrainian air defenses engaged incoming missiles. Trails of fire illuminated the sky. There were growling explosions. Kyivans were unable to sleep overnight with some burrow underground in shelters and others glued to the television, while burning debris fell amid the loudest air battle to take place in the skies over the capital in weeks. In total, Ukraine's air defense forces report shooting down all 18 Russian missiles and 9 drones. Ukrainian air defense forces said in a statement, "This night, Russia attacked Ukraine from south, north, and east. From 6 MiG-31 aircraft, 6 hypersonic missiles X-47M2 Kinzo were launched, 9 caliber cruise missiles from ships off the Black Sea, and 3 ground-based missiles. All of them were shot down." On Tuesday, the Ministry of Defense in Moscow said it had destroyed an U.S.-supplied Patriot air defense battery and accused Kiev of exaggerating the number of Kinzo hypersonic missiles. Although difficult to verify, an unyielding war has erupted in the skies of Kiev and throughout Ukraine. Both sides were employing the most advanced weapons. What will the upcoming situation be like? Who will gain the advantage in this consuming war? What are the strengths and weaknesses of the Patriot against the Kinzo missiles? The answers will be revealed in FBNC's World Affairs. The Russian military had used long-range high-precision weapons to launch strikes targeting deployment points of Ukraine forces and warehouse storing ammunition, weapons and other equipment provided by Western allies, the Russian Defense Ministry said on Tuesday. Russian forces fired Dagger hypersonic missiles at Kiev, destroying a U.S.-made Patriot air defense system in the Ukraine capital. According to the ministry's report, Russian air defense forces intercepted missiles fired by HIMARS multiple rocket launching systems, as well as multiple HARM anti-radiation missiles and Storm Shadow cruise missiles, the report said. Kiev's words about allegedly shooting down 6 Russian Kinzo hypersonic missiles by their air defense system are not true. Russian Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu exclusive told Sputnik on Tuesday, "I have already said it before and I will repeat it again. We have not launched as many Kinzo missiles as they allegedly shoot down in their statements every time," Shoigu stated. Moreover, the number of these Ukrainian interceptions and who really controls the U.S. complexes is still a big question. Exceeds our launches by 3 times. And they mistake the type of missiles all the time. The Kinzo is one of half a dozen new strategic weapons unveiled by Russian President Vladimir Putin in a speech to lawmakers in March 2018, first entering combat duty in December 2017 and seeing extensive flight and combat testing. The nuclear-capable weapon was the first hypersonic missile system to be fielded by any country. But since American Patriot air defense missile systems arrived in Ukraine, it has now shot down the Kinzos. All 6 Kinzo hypersonic missiles were heading toward Kiev. Air Defense Forces spokesman Igor Inat added, "This is a remarkable result. As you can see, Kiev remains the main target. That is why it's well protected by some serious air defense means," Inat said. Ukraine's Defense Minister Oleksiy Reznikov said it was another unbelievable success for the Ukrainian air forces. Russian terrorists have no chance of prevailing over Ukraine. It's a big question that has the Russian military commanders scratching their heads. What has made Ukraine's air defenses so impenetrable all of a sudden? This month alone, Russia has launched 8 waves of missiles attack on the Ukrainian capital, the latest of them a bombardment in the early hours of Tuesday that involved at least 18 missiles of various types and a swarm of drones. Yet, Kiev claimed to have escaped with barely a scratch, denying any of the missiles or drones hit their targets. We have received very powerful air defense systems from our Western partners. They work against air dynamic targets. The Kinzhal X-47 missiles, which used to terrorize us, are not so scary anymore, spokesperson Ina said. The raid was unique in its use of 6 Kinzhals from an estimated reserve of about 50. The enemy has used a relatively big number of them, he added. That may be an overstatement. U.S. officials believe a U.S.-made Patriot defense system was likely damaged, but even allowing for hyperbole, experts say, it's clear that something remarkable is going on. Until recently, most analysts and even U.S. defense officials simply doubted Ukraine's air defenses would be up to the job of repelling a sustained Russian assault. Just last month, leaked U.S. government documents detailed how Ukrainian stocks of Soviet-era medium-range air defense missiles were severely depleted, while even Alexander Runyansky, an economic advisor to Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy, has recently admitted to CNN that his country's air defenses were not coping well enough. Those assessments followed a March the 9th onslaught in which Russia launched 84 missiles at major cities across Ukraine. On that occasion, even Kiev admits 6 Kinzhal ballistic missiles managed to elude its air defenses. So what has changed in the space of just a few weeks? The obvious answer, in the Kiev region at least, is the deployment of the U.S.-made Patriot air defense systems, which arrived in Ukraine last month. The U.S. and Germany have each supplied 1 Patriot battery to Ukraine. Patriot interceptor missiles can hit high and medium-altitude aircraft, cruise missiles, and some ballistic missiles, according to the Center of the Strategic and International Studies, CSIS. So formidable are the Patriot defenses that Russia has pledged to take them out. Indeed, some experts believe this month's wave of attack has been designed specifically to overwhelm them with numbers. Though they are considered to be among the most advanced in the world, the American-made Patriot batteries defending Ukraine's cities are not that difficult to fight. Russia has said the Patriot is a fair target, and in general, if a radar is radiating, as it does when it's on and tracking targets, no matter what radar it is, typically is pretty easy to spot if you have the right equipment, Williams said. And in the electronic warfare space, the Patriot radar emits a signature that stands out among the noise. It can also be detected and tracked visibly via other surveillance, such as satellites and overhead drones. CNN, citing U.S. officials, reported the deadly missile was targeting the Patriot, noting that officials suspected the Russians detected signals emissions that allowed them to target the system. Russia uses one of its most powerful conventional weapons, Kinzhal missiles, that can reach Mach 10 times the speed of sound, which President Vladimir Putin said it is invincible. The Patriot also presents a decent-sized target on the battlefield, as each battery consists of several launchers, command and control components, and a power station, among other things, as well as up to several dozen personnel, and is not anywhere near as mobile as some of Ukraine's smaller short and Scott systems. An attempt could be made to move it, but evading an attack is really about tactics, like relying on effective early warning systems and radiating only when needed, Williams says. The good news for Ukraine, a missile defense expert said, is the Patriot is very capable and has bad chance of killing the Kinzhal when it's the missile's target. The Patriot air defense system can fire 3 different types of missiles called interceptors, each designed to destroy different kinds of threats like warplanes, helicopters, cruise missiles, drones, and even ballistic missiles. One, called a PAC-3, can knock down enemy planes at a range of about 40 miles and ballistic missiles at approximately 20 miles. Under the right conditions, a Patriot might be capable of taking down one of the fast-moving Kinzhal missiles, according to Ian Williams, the Deputy Director of the Missile Defense Project at the Center for the Strategic and International Studies, a Washington think tank. Tom Kurako, the director of the Missile Defense Project at the CSIS, recently told Insider that when Patriot is the target, some of the features of the Kinzhal that make it particularly difficult for defenders, such as its ability to maneuver in flight, potentially become less of a problem. In an interception situation, the closer you are to the target, the more kinematic flexibility you have to make that engagement, Williams told Insider, explaining that the missiles eventually had to stop maneuvering and bear down, and you have sort of maximum flexibility if you were close to the target or were the target. Videos from Kiev showed missile strafes across the night sky. There are not a lot of details on the second engagement of Kinzhals, but photos and videos from the battle showed several surface-to-air missiles in flight. And Tuesday's attacks on Kiev likely damaged, but did not destroy, one of Ukraine's Patriot systems, a U.S. official told CNN on Tuesday. But officials also warned the system may have to be withdrawn entirely depending on the level of damage it had sustained. An assessment was going on, they added. Do not worry about the fate of the Patriot, Ukrainian Air Force spokesperson Yuri Inat said. From a technical point of view, Patriot is a complex, a battery, a division, a system. To destroy the system with some kind of dagger, well, is impossible. Although considered particularly effective, the Patriot is a relatively static air defense system and is considered potentially vulnerable to high-speed missiles. Putin said the Kinzhal could overcome all existing and, I think, prospective anti-aircraft and anti-missiles defense systems. Ukraine is proving that's wrong, but Kinzhal is still a formidable threat. The Kinzhal, the Russian word for dagger, is known as the Killjoy missile among NATO's forces, and an advanced Russian system that shared design features with the Iskander short-range ballistic missile. It was adapted to be launched from the MiG-31, a high-speed Russian combat aircraft, at speed and altitude and the missile's erratic flight path and hypersonic speed complicate interception. Ukraine presently has just 2 Patriot air defense batteries in its arsenal, one from the U.S. and another one provided by European partners. These systems, which first arrived in April, fill a critical capability gap, targeting threats Kiev's forces were previously unable to defend against. But the limited number means Ukraine can't really afford to lose one. But it's not the Patriots alone defending Ukraine's skies. Kiev has received more short and medium-range air defense missiles from other NATO countries, according to the CSIS. These include some of the most advanced systems available, like the German Iris-T batteries, and less advanced ones like the Herc anti-missile system, the predecessor of the Patriot. Ukrainian leaders have stated that the Iris-T system has succeeded in 90% of engagements. Ian Williams of the Missile Defense Project at CSIS wrote in a report this month, adding that another Western nation, U.S. NASAMS, had a 100% success rate, according to comments last November by U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin. Then there are the weapons Ukraine already possessed before the war broke out, mostly Soviet-era systems that include the S-300 and Buk M1 medium-range anti-air missiles. These systems have had about 80% success rate hitting Russian cruise missiles, the CSIS report says. But Kiev is fast running out of ammunition for its Soviet-era systems, according to the leaked U.S. documents and the CSIS report. With a limited number of missiles remaining, Ukrainians will need to hold them for the highest priority targets, Russian aircraft or missiles heading for the most sensitive targets, the CSIS report says. Some wonder whether exhausting Ukrainian anti-missile stocks is the whole point of the current onslaught. At the current rate of ammunition use on both sides, the war could come down to who runs short in the air war first, some analysts believe. The high volume of air defense activity has no doubt strained the capacity of Ukrainian air defenses, and Russian tactics appear to be aimed precisely to drain Ukrainian defense capacity, wrote Williams of CSIS. But Williams also noted that the remains of some of the Russian missiles that had hit Ukraine appeared to suggest they were new inventory, suggesting its arsenals may be depleted. and there are serious doubts about Moscow's ability to produce new weapons in volume while Western sanctions hinder its access to critical parts. Russia has faced a significant shortage in its stockpiles of precision-guided munitions that have forced it to turn to cheaper yet less effective alternatives like Iranian-made exploding drones. Ukraine's Western supporters, on the other hand, seem intent on keeping Kyiv supplied. On May the 9th, the U.S. Defense Department announced a $1.2 billion package to bolster Ukraine's air defenses and artillery stockpiles. The U.S. aid will include additional air defense systems and munition equipment to integrate Western air defense launchers, missiles, and radars with Ukraine's air defense systems, according to Pentagon release. Meanwhile, on Monday, the United Kingdom confirmed it would send hundreds of air defense missiles to Ukraine. Williams says the Western support will be critical in the weeks and months ahead because one place Russia does have sufficient stocks in its low-tech gravity bombs dropped from aircraft. If the Russian Air Force can operate over Ukraine, it can do a lot of damage. Should Russia manage to wear down Ukraine's air defenses through attrition and gain air superiority, the war becomes significantly more challenging for Ukraine, Williams wrote. To the extent possible, the replenishment of interceptor and related air defense equipment must remain a high priority for Western military aid packages for the foreseeable future, he wrote. At the same time, Ukraine repeated its call for fighters. Zelenskyy said he has received important and powerful pledge of military aid during his European trip. Both the UK and France have announced they will soon start training Ukrainian pilots and would work with other countries on delivery of F-16 jets. On Tuesday, the UK and Holland announced an international coalition to help procure the aircraft. It now describes F-16 as Ukraine's fighter jets of choice. They could destroy cruise missiles and drones and would support Ukraine's troops in a counter-offensive expected this summer and involving newly formed brigades equipped with Western battle tanks and armored fighting vehicles. F-16s will protect us from air terrorism by Russia, he said. The Kremlin warned that the West's supply of weapons to Ukraine would only lead to unnecessary bloodshed rather than alter Russia's ability to fulfill the objectives of the special military operation. That has wrapped up our program today. Thanks for watching and see you in our next broadcast.